Before anything else, let me be upfront about something. This is not a video about how ChatGPT is terrible and you should delete it immediately and never touch it again. That is not what the evidence actually shows, and you deserve a more honest conversation than that. What the evidence does show is that a specific set of documented, verifiable problems have gotten significantly worse over the past 18 months, and that a large fraction of the people currently using ChatGPT every day are doing things with it that put their data, their professional reputation, and in some documented cases, their physical safety at genuine risk. Not theoretical risk, documented risk. If you are a student using it for research, if you are a professional using it for legal, medical, or financial work, if you type anything personal, confidential, or sensitive into that chat window. This video is specifically for you. Stick around because by the end, you will know exactly what the real problems are, who they affect most, and what you actually need to change about how you use AI right now. Let's start with the problem that sounds boring but is actually the most consequential issue for the largest number of people. Hallucinations. And I want to push past the watered-down version of this conversation that most coverage gives you, because the real situation is considerably more alarming than sometimes the AI makes mistakes. ChatGPT receives approximately 2.5 billion prompts every single day as of mid-2025. Every single one of those responses carries some non-zero probability of containing a hallucination, which is the technical term for information that sounds completely authoritative, but is factually wrong or simply made up. One AI company executive told the New York Times directly, "Despite our best efforts, AI models will always hallucinate. That will never go away." Now do the math on that. Even a 1% hallucination rate across 5 billion daily prompts produces more than 17,000 hallucinations every single minute. But here's the part that rarely gets discussed. In getting rid of the obvious, glaring hallucinations that made early ChatGPT look foolish, OpenAI essentially ensured that the remaining hallucinations are the subtle ones, the confident ones, the ones you are least likely to catch. A wrong answer that is obviously wrong is almost harmless because you reject it. A wrong answer that sounds exactly right is the most dangerous kind of answer in existence. Smash that like button right now, because the professional consequences of this are not theoretical. They are already documented in court records. A U.S. law firm submitted a legal brief in which roughly 1/3 of the citations had been fabricated by ChatGPT. None of the fake cases existed. The judge fined the firm $31,000 and referred the attorneys to the state bar. This was not a one-off incident. It became a pattern repeated across multiple jurisdictions. And the reason it kept happening is the same reason it will keep happening. The model generates fake legal citations with exactly the same confident tone it uses for real ones. There is no asterisk. There is no uncertainty flag. There is no way to tell from the output itself whether the case actually exists. This is not a law problem. It is a trust problem. If you are using ChatGPT for any professional task where accuracy matters, the burden of verification is entirely on you every single time, for every single fact. Most people are not doing that. Most people are treating the output with a degree of trust the technology has not earned. Subscribe right now, because what's happening with data privacy is the issue that will affect every single person watching this video, and most people have no idea it's happening. Here is something that almost nobody who uses ChatGPT on a free or plus subscription has read. Their conversations are being used to train future versions of the model by default. Not maybe, by default. OpenAI's own privacy policy confirms it. Your prompts, your responses, the context you provide, the problems you share, the questions you ask that you would never ask another person, all of it is feeding the training pipeline unless you go into your settings, find the data control section, and manually toggle off, improve the model for everyone. A Stanford University research study examined the privacy policies of the 6 major AI developers and found serious concerns across the board. Long data retention periods, training on user data, and what the researchers described as a general lack of transparency and accountability. The study found that users face a significant gap in understanding what is actually happening to their data. But the training issue is only the beginning of the privacy story. In July 2025, a glitch caused thousands of ChatGPT conversations shared through links to be indexed by Google's search engine, making them publicly searchable. Users who thought they were sharing a link privately with a friend inadvertently exposed diary entries, work plans, and personal discussions to the entire internet. OpenAI fixed this particular issue, but it demonstrates a structural problem. A system collecting this volume of sensitive data at this scale, across this many use cases, creates an exposure surface that is genuinely difficult to fully control. Then came what might be the most significant privacy event in ChatGPT's history. In May 2025, as part of the ongoing New York Times versus OpenAI copyright lawsuit, a federal court ordered OpenAI to preserve all ChatGPT conversation logs indefinitely for legal discovery. For roughly 5 months, from May to September 2025, every conversation you deleted from ChatGPT was still being archived in a separate legal hold. The standard 30-day deletion policy was suspended. OpenAI was legally required to keep everything. The court order was modified in October 2025, returning to normal deletion policies for new data. But in January 2026, a judge ordered OpenAI to hand over 20 million de-identified ChatGPT conversation logs to the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. 20 million conversations that users believed they had deleted or believed were private that are now in the hands of legal teams analyzing them for evidence. Don't forget to subscribe, because the quality decline story is the one that explains why so many long-term ChatGPT users feel like something has changed and they're not wrong. If you have been using ChatGPT since 2023 or 2024, and you've had the persistent feeling that something has gotten worse, that it feels less helpful, less thorough, more likely to refuse tasks or produce short generic responses, you are not imagining it. This is one of the most consistently documented user complaints across Reddit, Hacker News, developer forums, and professional communities over the past 18 months, and there is a technical explanation for why it happened. OpenAI transitioned from GPT-4 and GPT-4o, which many users considered the best balance of capability and genuine helpfulness, to the GPT-5 family of models across 2025 and into 2026. These newer models score higher on standardized benchmarks. They are measurably better at formal reasoning tasks, mathematics, and structured problem solving as measured by academic tests. But benchmark scores and real-world user experience are not the same thing, and the GPT-5 models were optimized for the former in ways that affected the latter. What users consistently describe is a model that has become more conservative, more prone to refusals, more likely to give a short, generic answer, where GPT-4 would have given a thorough, specific one, and faster at responding in a way that prioritizes speed over accuracy. Researchers call this the alignment tax, the gap between benchmark performance and real-world user satisfaction. Stanford researchers documented a dramatic accuracy collapse in GPT-4 on specific tasks over a 3-month observation period, a finding that became one of the most cited pieces of evidence that model quality is not always monotonically improving across generations. ChatGPT's market share in the AI assistant space has declined from roughly 60% in early 2025 to under 45% by early 2026, according to industry estimates. That is still a commanding lead, but a 15-point decline in under a year in a product category that is growing overall means that users are not abandoning AI. They are abandoning a specific product in favor of alternatives. That is a meaningful signal about real-world satisfaction that no benchmark score can explain away. Here is the category of risk that is hardest to discuss clearly without either sensationalizing or minimizing it, and I want to be precise because precision matters here. ChatGPT is being used by people in mental health crises, by people who are lonely and looking for connection, by people who are grieving, anxious, or experiencing delusional thinking. OpenAI itself disclosed in company documents that more than 1 million weekly interactions on the platform involve users experiencing serious mental health struggles. That is a staggering number. And the architecture of a large language model, which is fundamentally designed to generate the most plausible continuation of a conversation, creates a specific danger in these contexts that is distinct from any other technology risk we have discussed. A language model that generates the most plausible response to a user who is developing a delusional belief system will, by its fundamental design, tend to generate responses that feel congruent with what the user is saying rather than challenging it. Not because the model wants to enable delusions, because agreement and elaboration are statistically more likely to feel like a coherent conversation continuation than contradiction and pushback. This is not a problem that can be fully engineered away. It is a consequence of how these systems work at a mathematical level. There are documented cases of users developing serious psychological disturbances following extended ChatGPT use. A Toronto case involving a user who was gradually encouraged into a delusional belief over 21 days of conversation, with the model building on his statements rather than questioning them, required inpatient psychiatric intervention. These cases are not arguments that ChatGPT causes mental illness. They are arguments that a tool being used 1 million times per week by people in active mental health crises needs safeguards that are not yet adequate to the scale of that use. If you or someone you know is using any AI chatbot as a primary emotional support system, the important thing to know is that these systems are not therapists. They have not been trained as therapists. They do not have the ability to recognize when someone is in crisis in the way a trained human can, and the designed features that make them feel supportive can sometimes produce the opposite effect in vulnerable situations. Human support, whether through a trusted person or a professional, is not replaceable by a chatbot for serious emotional needs. Let's talk about what this all actually means for how you should behave. because stop using ChatGPT is too blunt an instruction to be genuinely useful. The professional context is where the behavior change is most urgent and most clear. If you are a lawyer, a doctor, a financial advisor, an accountant, or anyone working in a regulated profession where you are responsible for the accuracy of advice you give to clients, the following is not optional. Never enter client information into a free or plus ChatGPT account. Never use ChatGPT output as a primary source for factual claims and professional deliverables without independent verification of every specific claim. Never trust citations, case references, statistics, or named sources without checking them against the original. The $31,000 court fine and bar referral for fabricated legal citations is the clearest possible evidence that the professional and legal system will hold you personally responsible for AI-generated errors in your professional work, not OpenAI. For everyone, the privacy setting is not optional anymore once you know it exists. Go to Settings, find Data Controls. Turn off Improve the model for everyone. This is the switch that prevents your future conversations from being used as training data. It does not protect conversations you have already had, and it does not mean OpenAI staff cannot access your chats. But it is the most substantive privacy protection available to individual users on consumer plans. Do it now before you close this video. It takes 30 seconds. For sensitive conversations, use temporary chat mode. OpenAI still retains data in temporary chat for 30 days for safety review, but it is not saved to your history and is not used for training. If you are discussing anything personal, medical, legal, or financial, this mode meaningfully reduces the amount of data being retained about you. Never enter passwords, financial account numbers, your social security number, client names, proprietary business information, medical records, or legal privilege communications into any free or plus ChatGPT account. A 2025 harmonic security study found sensitive information in over 4% of prompts and 20% of file uploads sent to AI tools. That number is almost certainly underestimated because many users have no monitoring in place. Enterprise and business accounts have meaningfully stronger protections and different data use terms, but the consumer products do not. The broader picture of where we are with ChatGPT in mid-2026 is this. ChatGPT is still the most widely used AI assistant in the world. It is capable of genuinely useful work across a wide range of tasks. The problems documented here do not make it useless. What they make it is unsuited for unsupervised use in professional contexts, genuinely risky for anyone entering sensitive personal information, and inadequate as the sole source for anything where factual accuracy has real consequences. The reason the title of this video says you need to stop using ChatGPT is not that you should never use it again. It is that you need to stop using it the way most people currently use it, with the default privacy settings that allow training on your data without verifying factual claims, as a primary tool in professional contexts where errors carry legal consequences, and as an emotional support system for serious mental health struggles. Stop using it like that. Change the settings, verify the outputs, understand what happens to your data. Keep human judgment in the loop for anything that actually matters. The AI industry is moving fast enough that the tool landscape next year may look very different from what it looks like today. What will not change is the principle that any tool this powerful, this widely used, and this integrated into serious professional and personal decisions deserves more careful and more informed use than most people are currently giving it. That is the video. If this changed how you think about any of this, the like button is right there. And if you want to keep following the honest version of the AI conversation rather than the hype version, you already know what to do.